Hello, my name is Dr. Armand, and I am the lab coordinator for General Chemistry 1 labs this summer. And in this little lab video, I'm going to explain some of the items you need to be working on at the start of the semester and where to find different assignments, lecture notes for the class. So sit back, relax, and enjoy the show. So everyone who's watching this is enrolled in the General Chemistry 1 laboratories. This is CHEM 1120 or 1121. And so there are a few items that you need for the lab. So one is the General Chemistry 1 lab manual. There will be a link on Blackboard, which will students will click on to access the lab manual and register for it. Currently, it is not up. I'm still waiting on the uh, website address. Once I get that, I will link it up so that you can click on and register for the lab manual. But you can go to the bookstore. They sell access codes for the lab manual, and you'll need this for by June 5th. So the week of June 5th is when we have our first lab. So that's when you will need the lab manual uh, for this course. Of course, you will need goggles. So goggles can be purchased at the bookstore or anywhere, Amazon, etc. Anywhere where they sell goggles, and they should be fully enclosed goggles like this here, not the ones with perforated holes on the side. Next, we'll be using the Lab Archives Electronic Lab Notebook. This is provided for you free by the chemistry department. You will go into Lab 2 folder, click on the Electronic Lab Notebook link there, and you can access the e-notebook to register for it. And I'll show you this later coming up. So again, this link can be found in the Lab 2 module folder. So if you go to the Lab 2 module folder on Blackboard, you can see the Electronic Lab Notebook link and then register for the Electronic Lab Notebook. And that's where we'll be recording our data for the experiment, answering some questions about the experiment as well. And again, this is freely provided for you by the department. You will need a lab coat. The lab coat should go down to at least the knees. And you can get the lab coats at the bookstore. You can get the lab coats at any type of lab equipment company around town, etc. And so you will need the lab coat by the week of June 5th when we start our first lab. Lastly, we'll need the iClicker 2 remote. This can be found at the bookstore. It can be found on Amazon and other types of uh, sites like that. And it has to be the iClicker 2 remote. We will be using this in the lab lecture for our weekly lab lecture quizzes. And you will need this by June 5th. That's our first lab lecture. So these are the items that you need for the General Chemistry 1 lab. And so when you come to lab, it's important that if you have long hair, you tie back your hair, as we don't want chemicals or flames to catch your to get messed up with your hair. You will need safety goggles, as we mentioned on the previous slide. These are safety goggles, not safety glasses. Not safety glasses. You need safety goggles. You will need a lab coat. And again, you'll have to provide your own lab coat for the lab. You will need to wear long pants, and we'll, on the next slide coming up, we'll explain what types of long pants are permitted. And you will need to wear closed-toed shoes in the lab, and we will provide you with gloves in the lab if you wish to wear gloves while performing the experiment. So make sure you have the proper lab attire when you come into lab on the first uh, lab day. So as far as proper attire, a little bit more in depth, what's required. As far as jeans, of course, no ripped jeans. They cannot have holes in it. No capri pants, no shorts, no cargo pants, no, not anything that's spandex, no leggings. So anything, the rule of thumb is anything that exposes, shows skin is not allowed. Also, if it's like leggings that are very tight fitting, those aren't allowed as well because um, the chemicals can seep through. And for your shirts, no crop tops. Again, you must have a shirt that covers your complete body. Only don't there should be no skin visible between your neck to your feet. And for your feet, we're not allowed sandals, no ballet shoes, no Crocs. They have to be closed toe shoes, and you must wear socks that cover up to your ankles. So your socks should go up through your pants so that no skin is showing there. So that's very important that your socks cover up and under your pants. So don't wear socks that expose skin here. And due to the departmental regulations, if students do not wear the proper attire, they're not allowed to attend lab, and it's an unexcused absence. So make sure you wear the correct lab attire. And if this is, since this is a summer semester, you may want to keep a pair of tennis shoes or long pants in your car so that you have it as a backup. So again, for lab lectures, we'll be using the iClicker 2 remote uh, to do the weekly lab lecture quizzes. It looks like this. It has to be an iClicker 2 remote. This can be found at the bookstore. It can be found on iClicker.com. It can be found on Amazon, etc. But you will need this for the first lab lecture, which is June 5th. There's information posted on Blackboard where to instruct you on how to register your iClicker 2 remote for the course. And we're only using the iClicker 2 remote. As far as attendance is mandatory for both the lab and the lab lecture. So for the labs, we consider tardiness if a student is between 5 and 15 minutes late to lab. The first time they're given a warning. On the second or more times they're tardy, they're given a penalty on the data sheets for the corresponding assignment. Students are required each time they go into lab to sign the attendance sheet that gets passed around the lab. If you didn't sign it, it counts as an absence, which is unexcused. As far as excused absences from lab, these have to be approved by myself prior to the absence and must meet the requirements that are posted in the UTSA HOP section 5.09 section and have proper documentation. Now, this is a summer semester. It moves pretty fast. So please try not to miss any labs. And if it is an excused absence, we'll determine how that lab can be made up. What's an unexcused absence? If you miss a lab, that is not excused, of course. If you fail to make a 60 or better on the corresponding pre-lab safety video assignments, if you're more than 15 minutes late to lab, missing 2 lab lectures, or being tardy 3 times. Now, lab lecture attendance is recorded using the iClicker 2 remotes, which is used to complete the weekly lab lecture quizzes. So you must receive a grade in Blackboard for the lab lecture quiz to be counted present. So what should you be working on to get off on the right foot for this lab course? When you first log into Blackboard, and I'll show you this in just a moment, you'll be directed to the Start Here link. And in the Start Here link is where it'll tell you the first items you need to complete. So you should read over the syllabus and the lab lecture notes that I'm giving to you in this video. Complete the syllabus quiz by making 100. This needs to be done by 11 p.m. on June 6th. And you have to complete the syllabus quiz in order for the lab modules to appear. So again, you have to make a score of 100. Register for the Hayden McNeil Lab Manual. So I'll send an announcement when that link is up and running. Register for the Lab Archives Electronic Lab Notebook. I'll explain how you do that in just a moment. And complete the online safety trainings. It's actually plural, there's more than one, by 11 p.m. on June 6th. In addition to that, we have a Labster simulation on chemical hazards, which is due on Thursday at 11 p.m. June 8th. The two important things you need to do after the safety training is the Lab 2 PreLab video assignments, part 1 and 2. This is very important that you complete by Tuesday, 11 p.m. on June 6th. So again, the online safety training is important, the syllabus quiz is important, and the Lab 2 PreLab video assignments, part 1 and 2, are important to complete by their due dates. And then the Labsters, chemical hazard safety, and Labster measurement and uncertainty, these are due on Thursday at 11 p.m. And if you do all of this before Tuesday, you can start working on the Excel Lab module. But again, syllabus quiz, important to complete. You must make 100 on the syllabus quiz. The online safety trainings are important to complete. And the Lab 2, parts 1 and 2, PreLab video assignments are important to complete. So everything I've underlined in red are due by 11 p.m. Tuesday, June 6th. So these are the important items that you need to have finished by then. And so with the PreLab video assignments, these contain information about the lab you'll be doing and also the safety involving the chemicals that you'll be using in the lab. These are going to be due for most of them 11 p.m. on the Tuesday before the corresponding lab. They cannot be submitted late. You get one unlimited time attempt to complete it. You have to make an average of 60 or better on those video assignments. If you do not make an average of 60 or better, the first time this happens, you're given a warning. After that, you're given a 0 for the lab, and it's an unexcused absence. So this is very important to complete prior to the lab. With PostLab questions, these will become available after the last lab has finished. So for this summer semester, the last lab finishes on Thursday at 5 p.m. So these will become available at 6 p.m. on the corresponding Thursday. You'll have 1 week to complete them, and the due date will be 11 p.m. Now these can be submitted late, but a late penalty does apply. For labs 5 and 7, we'll be using the Cambridge Structure Database to help us answer questions in these post-lab assignments. Now, for some of these post-lab assignments, you also have questions that involve writing as well. So again, you have the pre-lab video assignments, you have post-lab assignments. We have our data pages. So when you go into lab, you'll click on the data page link in Blackboard. It'll direct you to the e-notebook section. You'll fill in your data, you'll answer a few questions, and then you'll submit to instructor for them to grade it. And so any pictures or graphs that you upload to electronic lab notebook, make sure the pictures are either in PDF or JPEG file formats, because other formats don't open properly on the electronic lab notebook. So again, PDF and JPEG are important file formats for pictures. And for graphs, because we do upload quite a few graphs to our electronic lab notebooks, you need to upload either a PDF or an Excel file format. And note that upload should not be screenshots of graphs. If it's a screenshot of a graph, a grade of 0 will be given for screenshots. And you'll have 24 hours after your lab finishes to complete uploading pictures or graphs, answering questions, entering calculations, etc. So 24 hours after your lab period, you have to have all of this done. So we have pre-lab video assignments, we have post-lab assignments, we have our data sheets. We have our lab lecture quizzes. These are given during lab lecture that will cover content that we cover in that lab lecture and also the previous lab lecture. You will be taking the lab lecture quiz with your iClicker 2 remotes. This is used to record attendance as well. And so our first lab lecture quiz will be on our first lab lecture, which is June 5th. In addition to that, some other assignments we have is we have some Labster virtual labs on some of the experiments that we do. And these will count as a pre-lab portion of the assignment. However, there's no, these help, or I should say, these help kind of review the concepts that you'll be using in particular labs. We'll have a lab lecture quiz final exam in the lab lecture course over all the previous lab lectures and experiments. And then we also have a lab final exam, which is a practical exam that's given during your lab time and will be completed with your lab partner. Now note here for the lab final exam, there are no groups of 3. So you can only be a group of 2. If there's a group of 3 at the end of the semester, you'll have to vote one person off. So no groups of 3 or more. And so this is our experiment schedule. Again, the Excel lab is something that is completed outside of the lab. Our first experiment, the week of June 5th, is going to be experiment 1, method of inquiry and measurements. Experiments 3 and 4 will be done together, and then the rest of them will be one at a time until experiment 9 and 10 are done together as well. So we have a pretty packed semester this summer. How will you be graded? The lab projects. So again, lab projects include the pre-lab video assignments, the Labsters, simulations, the data pages, and the post-lab assignments. All of this is worth 45% of your final grade. The lab lecture quizzes are 18%, the final exam is 35%, and of course attendance is 2%. So it's very important that students complete the pre-lab assignments, the post-lab assignments, and the data pages, because this is the big chunk of your final grade. So what to do now? You need to, for the first week of lab, make sure you complete the safety training for the lab, and we'll show you that here in a little bit. Check into your lab drawer. You'll do that on the first day. Make sure you wear the proper attire for your first lab, which is either going to be June 7th or 8th. You must complete the syllabus quiz, make 100 on it in order to review the lab modules on Blackboard. Make sure for Lab 2 that you complete the pre-lab safety video assignments for Lab 2. There are 2 of them, and you need to complete this by 11 p.m. on Tuesday, June 6th. And so the overall average between the 2 should be a 60 or better. In addition to that, we also have a Labster simulation on chemical hazards and measurements and uncertainty, which you should be working on as well. But again, the main thing, syllabus quiz, safety trainings, Lab 2, pre-lab video assignments are the 3 most important things to be working on. And you will be entering your lab data into your laptop, iPad, or etc. So make sure you bring one of those types of devices to the class. So welcome to the course. My student hours are Mondays 2 to 3 p.m. and Tuesdays 11 a.m. to noon. These student hours are times where the student can come and just sit and work on their assignments. If they have questions, they can ask me. I'll be present. Generally, this will be in the BSC atrium. So the BSC atrium is the same place where Einstein's coffee is. And so you can just come sit for that hour, work on your assignments. If you have questions, I'll be there to assist. So now I'm going to switch gears and show you a little bit about the Blackboard layout of the course. So when you log in to the lab lecture Blackboard course, so again, for this Chem 1121 General Chemistry course, everything is going to be in the lab lecture portion of the course. So all your assignments, all the grades, everything is going to be, and again, in the lab lecture Blackboard course. There will be nothing in the lab course because, again, the grades for the course are rolled over through the lab lecture portion of the course. And so when you first log into the lab lecture course, it'll put you at the Start Here page. So this is where you need to do your first assignments. So there's some items you should read about the course. If you want to read more about myself, you can find it here on the lab course, or on this start page. You can click here. Some information about the course, basic course requirements. Now here's a lab attire so that you can see what is permitted, what is not permitted. And then the lab lecture notes I just covered are posted here as well. And the syllabus quiz, which is important, is what you need to click on to complete and make 100 on it so that you can access lab content. And here's the safety training folder. So when you click on this, you have a safety training certificate. So this is one safety training that you have to complete, and you'll get a certificate at the end, which you need to upload to this Dropbox. So again, for this one, it's called the Hazardous Communications and General Lab Safety Certificate. So these are the instructions on completing the BioRaft course. You'll get a certificate from the BioRaft course for the Hazardous Communication and General Lab Safety training. You'll upload it to this Dropbox. Again, this needs to be done before lab on June 5th. The other 7 module assignments are videos that you watch and answer questions, and you'll get a completion grade from modules 1 through 6, which is going to be 14.7 points. And then for module 7 is like an assessment based on all 6 of these modules. So again, you have to complete each one of these modules, safety modules as well. And so all of this should be done by 11 p.m. on June 6th. So after the safety training modules, you have your Labster chemical safety simulation, which is on hazard symbols. And then you have the link to take you to the Excel lab. So after completing the syllabus quiz, making 100 on it, you can click on the labs and you'll see the lab module folder. So here's the Excel lab module folder, which has the Excel assignments. This will open on May 30th. Module 2, which is the first experiment we'll be doing. If you click on this, it'll have all the assignments we'll be doing for module 2. It has the lab lecture notes we'll be covering, the pre-lab video assignments. Remember, there's 2 pre-lab video assignments for module 2 that you need to complete. And then it has the Labster simulation. Now, the assignments that have the purple box, this is what you're going to click on to access the e-notebook. So when you go into lab, you'll click on this link. It'll direct you to the lab 2 data page where you can enter your information for the experiment. So again, this is the link you click on, the ones with the purple box that you will access to register for the e-notebook. Again, the e-notebook is free. It's provided for you by the department. So now if we scroll back up, right now it's hidden, but there will be a lab manual link that you'll click on that will have the link to connect to the lab manual and to register and enter your access code for the lab manual link. So that's pretty much how the Blackboard course is laid out. So just to kind of recap what you should be working on. So the first thing, read the syllabus and complete the syllabus quiz. Make 100 on it. And this is due by 11 p.m. Tuesday, June 6th. Once you do that, you need to complete the safety trainings. So there's one BioRaft training, which gives you a certificate. That you should upload to the Dropbox. And then there are 7 ACS safety training modules. And you'll get a score for completing each one. These 8 safety training modules do not contribute to the final grade. And so all of these safety trainings should be done by 11 p.m. on Tuesday, June 6th. After completing the safety training modules, make sure you register the iClicker 2 remote. There's information on Blackboard. To explain how to register the remote. The other important thing is to complete the Lab 2 parts 1 and 2 PreLab video assignments. With an overall average of 60 or better. So that means between the 2 assignments, is the average between the 2 assignments a 60 or better. This is due by 11 p.m. on June 6th. And so these are the most crucial things you should be working on right now. Syllabus quiz, safety trainings, registering your iClicker 2 remote, and completing the PreLab video assignments for Lab 2. Also, register for the lab manual and register for the Lab Archives e-notebook. So hopefully this was a helpful overview of what's required for the course, what you should be working on at the beginning of the course, so that we all are successful and get through this General Chemistry 1 lab course. So that's all for this video. Again, I have my student hours posted. You're always welcome to come by, ask questions if you're unsure uh, what you need to be working on or where something is, etc. So on that note, that's Dr. Armand signing off. Until next time, we'll see you then.